just the spent fishing was just absolutely the best I've seen, to be honest, in years on Arrow. You know, like we had some cracking fish and we lost some big fish, you know, like Ewan McGregor there from Scotland at their £7.10. We had 4 in the boat already that before we hooked him. We actually took us an hour and a half to actually land that fish. You wouldn't believe it. It was such a fight, and we weighed him and we put him back carefully and he swam away for some other angler, hopefully to enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Ireland on the Fly podcast about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland. And this week we're discussing the rise of Lough Arrow, which, if the mayfly season is anything to go by, is on the up in terms of numbers and size of trout being caught there. So, what's behind the great catches so far this year? What can anglers expect for the rest of the season? And is Arrow going to rival Sheelin in the long term as a fly fishing Lough's destination? We'll hear shortly from Jackie Mahon, the fly tyer and guide on Arrow, who will let us know. But first, Tom, we know the mayfly in Carr was pretty poor this year, but how did it fare elsewhere? And is a poor or great mayfly season indicative of how the rest of the season will fish?
No, it isn't. I've had poor mayflies before and had fantastic, fantastic or good fishing afterwards. Right. Okay. Like last year I had better fishing in July for the second hatch of mayfly on Carb than I did for the mayfly.
Right.
And I'm kind of hoping it's going to happen this year, you know? So, no, there's no, you do get the odd patch year that everything fishes well, but they happen about once every 10 years. You know, duck fly is fantastic. Olives are great. Buzzer fishing's amazing. Mayfly is great. Daphne is wonderful. Everything goes right. Yeah, but that doesn't happen that often. So yeah, look, there's no, a lot of things, there's factors that are happening. A lot is weather dependent. So you just don't know. So definitely I'm praying that the second mayfly hatch that we normally get here in July, coupled with a bit of sedge fishing and a bit of Daphne fishing, would be good in July coming into August. So yeah, no. And I'm saying that because if it was so, then I would be looking forward to the rest of the season, would I? And then what we're talking about, there are different lakes. And we discussed it. I think we discussed it there. Like lakes vary from year to year, and some years a lot of lakes will fish well, and then quite often other years some lakes will outperform others. And this year's definitely we've seen that Arrow has really come to the fore, and we discussed like Arrow was once one of the great lakes of Ireland and a great trout lakes of Ireland, and it still is, but like years back, 30-40 years ago, it was phenomenal fishery. Then it kind of, as we discussed when we were talking to Jackie, it dipped a bit, a few reasons for that, and we discuss it, but it has really come back with a bang, and it's great. And like another the other lakes that fished well this year, Sheelin.
Yes, same. Exactly, yeah.
Sheelin's
been doing well in the last few years, hasn't it? Like
it has actually, although there was about 3 or 4 years ago, the mayfly was kind of poor in it. It had a you say mediocre year, but this year, like, it has really fished fantastic.
That's and in fairness, because that's what you're hearing is an Arrow and Sheelin were the places to be this year. And I'm just wondering, like, going forward, it'd be interesting to see. Don't have a crystal ball, but like if they become so popular, the two of them, like if Arrow kind of maintains its status alongside, like it'll be an interesting one to watch.
It will be very interesting to watch. But like I remember, and funny, we were chatting about this before. I think a couple of years ago, it'd be about the early noughties, and Sheena wasn't fishing well, Arrow wasn't fishing well for the mayfly, and the big lakes, the Midland lakes weren't fishing well, and Carr was absolutely crowded. It was just chock-a-block. It really was. There were too many people on it. I like to be honest with you, and I only just thought of that now. It actually suits us here if the other lakes are fishing better.
Does it give it a rest in many ways?
It does, and it just eases off. Like in my own bay here, once in that early noughties, I remember I was coming back. I wasn't out a particular day. I had to go and collect an engine in Kong or something. All right, and I wasn't going out till lunchtime. That was it. And I was driving back, and coming back to Carrick Shore, which is looking over at my house to Doers Bay as such, I counted 70 boats between the west side of Innishtawee to the mouth of the river. And it was just phenomenal. I stopped and I counted them. And it was just way too many people. But the reason the boats were here, and it's natural enough, the other lakes weren't fishing. Carr was fishing relatively well then, so everybody came to it. But if the other lakes fish, then it gives Carr a chance. Then there aren't 70 boats between Innishtawee and the mouth of the river here. There might be 30, or 20 or 25, and that's great. And it's better for everybody. So, like, to be honest, it suits all the lakes if they're fishing relatively well.
And that's because that was the other. I'm fascinated by the fact that like the conditions were the same. Say between Sheelin, Arrow, Derg, Corb, and yet those two were the standout, and other lakes like Corb, Derg, and Melvin fared poorer. But yet the conditions were the exact same.
They're the exact same. So, like, and we discussed this just off air beforehand. Like, and you were saying to me, like, well, why is that? And I didn't have an answer then, and I don't have an answer now. I really don't know.
But is it it's a bit like what you're saying, like the way it's good for some lakes to be kind of rested nearly. I don't know. Is it nature's way of kind of making sure?
And maybe it is. Maybe in the bigger picture it is, Yeah, it is a funny one. And look, it kind of adds to it too. Then you take a chance going to a lake as well. And it's kind of nice. And there's a lot of people that have done well. Let's say like when Arrow had been fishing poor and lads stuck with it and went back to it and had great fishing with hardly any boats on it. Fair play to them. Good luck to them. They stuck with it and got it. And kind of the same with Sheelin as well, and other places and other lakes and some of the Midland lakes as well. So that's good. Yeah, and it's great to have variety.
Exactly, that's it. Exactly. And as Jackie explains, it's like it's Arrow fish as well throughout the year. So if people are thinking of heading up, I'd rather be prefer to be going up now later in the summer, avoid the crowds, so to speak.
Oh, well, like,
Jackie
traffic, mentioned it there in his spaghetti Western title.
yeah.
And like, actually, I remember that time when it was crowded here, Corb, and it was just...
Takes away from it a bit.
Oh, yeah, it does. Like, you'd catch a fish in a drift, right? And you got to the point where you wouldn't even say, we'll do that drift again, because you knew as soon as you caught a fish in a drift, you look behind, there'd be 2 boats pulling behind you, maybe 3 boats. So, and it was just, So, and to be honest, I'm not a great fan of that. I really am. So sometimes I find the busy couple of weeks of May kind of difficult, because like I'll be going, I don't know, if I go to the back end of Ribbon, I get a fish at that gap, and I cut around the back of Ribbon and there's 2 boats drifting on it. And then it goes through my head, do they actually know that, or are they just chancing it?
Yeah.
So that's, and I see what you say there about like when you're saying you'd like to get up now when it's a bit quieter. Well, I'm completely like that,
Jeez, we're never happy, are we? It's too busy.
Never
it's
happy.
Too quiet.
Great.
It's never happy. Never happy.
Too busy. Jesus, what are we doing on this lake? There's nobody here. It's obviously crap.
Well, in fairness to Jackie, he wasn't quite like Brian Hope, Lough Arrow more in terms of kind of the, reach for the stars here, but he does a good sell, I have to say, with Arrow. So it's well worth the listen. And we first asked Jackie actually to tell us about the mayfly season just gone by.
3 little things for Lough Arrow this season. It was kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what I came across. That's what I came across this year on Arrow, like as being the guide on Arrow. The good, the fishing was fantastic. The bad weather with the northerly winds, easterly winds again, which played a bit of havoc over a few days. And then probably the ugly side of it was that probably the greed that I've seen this year more than any other year, with being cut off on drifts and boats coming in on top of you, something like what happens on Sheelin a lot.
And was this specifically in mayfly? You saw
it specifically on mayfly, and it wasn't just me that's seen it. There was a lot of other local, people on the lake that has always fished Arrow came across it this year as well, and actually said it.
And was it a case, Jackie, that like the jungle drums being beaten, Lough Arrow is the place to be? So you had kind of a lot of new anglers coming, was it visitors?
There was kind of a lot of new anglers, which no one minds coming to the lake, but it was just some of the bad manners that was actually shown, throughout the mayfly on it. I suppose I was at one corner, just give you an example, I was at one corner this year for the Spent with a client from Scotland, and we spotted a boat flying up to where we were, stopped, put the electric engine on, and came within 50 feet of us, and like, as I said, the lake is big enough. So I asked the lads, did they want tea or coffee in the boat? They were that close to us. I might as well offer the tea and coffee to them, you know.
And
But,
did they say anything to you, or did they kind of pretend?
I think they got the hint in the end, Dara. I think they got the hint in the end, you know.
Experienced anglers surely wouldn't do that, or are they just ignorant?
I think that a lot of it is to do with, I have to get into that corner. You know, I was there last night, but like, I mean, first come, first serves in my opinion, with the likes of that, you know, but I don't know, Dara, it was just one of those seasons on Arrow, like, you know, but the fishing was just, we'll move on away from a little bit from that one, I suppose. But the fishing.
Actually, before you move on to that, I have one more question on that, Jackie, and Tom, and for you as well. Do you find when you're out fishing, say fellas know, oh, that's Jackie Mahon, he knows where so if Jackie's fishing in that corner, because I've been out fishing with guides and they'll say to me, watch the crowd now, watch the crowd will start coming over towards where you're fishing. Do you find that?
At times, yes, at times, especially on Arrow, I suppose you can't miss catch 22 written all over the board either, you know. But it was just like, I mean, it was hard to explain. It wasn't just me. It happened to a good few people that has always fished Arrow, you know. And I don't know, was it greed that they had to catch 7 fish there at that corner, or what it was, you know?
I think what you're talking about there, Jackie, something like that, that's definitely greed. I think you were probably in a place that the fellow was maybe at night or 2 nights or whatever night you weren't in it. And he suddenly said, well, I was here before, I don't care.
Yeah.
And definitely there's an element of greed in it. Now, the other thing I find in May, and it maybe, I think I'm trying to let people off the hook here. There's a lot of people out that aren't out other times, right?
Yes.
And they're not completely au fait. Like, I've had people troll across me in front of me about 50 feet.
Oh,
Could have had coffee, as you said, Jackie. And they've waved at me and asked me, have we done any good?
So having a clue.
Yeah, so there is that element, but you see, it all happens in May.
Oh, the mad May, I call it. Mad May.
It's mental stuff. It really is. But like, there's an element of both in it. But like the like what happened to you with the spent when you were out, the Scottish lad, that would really irk me. The other times you just get mad but then you sort of think, God, if you could let people know, and maybe even through this medium, you can let people know, you know, there's certain protocols you do. You don't pull in front of a boat.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't fly up adrift at full speed.
Absolutely.
You know, there's certain things, and as you said, I love the way you described it, the boat flying up the lake, and I imagine it was probably calm on a spent night. Absolutely. You know, but
that's a good one. Ask them for a cup if they want a cup of tea or coffee.
Yeah, but sure, they were that close.
Jackie,
I might as well offer it. You know,
you normally have plenty. You normally have plenty of coffee going, so you know.
Absolutely.
Milk or sugar with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And another thing you mentioned there, Dara, what I found here, because in Corb it's a bigger lake, but it's very easy to spot the guys' boats, right? Like, we don't, you know, as it is easy to see catch 22, Jackie, but it's very easy to see a guy's boat because there's a guy in the middle not fishing. Absolutely. And you'll actually get people, parties out that don't know the lake. They'll say, oh God, that boat's got a gilly. We'll just put it behind them. You know?
I just found this year of all years, I just found Arrows starting to turn in a little bit like Sheelin, where there was going to be rows starting to break out. You know, and it's not great for the fishing community, like, you know, it's, to be honest, you know, it really isn't, you know.
And tell us, Jackie, was it noticeable in terms of the increase in angling
numbers? Oh, absolutely. No one has problems. No one has problem with numbers or people coming and enjoying themselves on the lake or anything like that, Dara. It's just have some manners, really. You know, when you do travel to the lake, have manners.
And how many boats will be out in the lake, like when it was busy this season? Not
as many now as Sheelin, Dara. But, you know, probably on days there was 50, 60 boats out, you know, at least some days, you know, like, I mean, you know, Arrow is one thing, like, you've kind of two halves, I do say. We say, you have, we say the Roscommon half and the Sligo kind of half, you know. And both gets mayfly hatches, Dara, you know. And basically has been a guide for years, like, on it, is that you have to go searching. Tom will tell you that. You go searching for the mayfly, where the hatch is, you're going to find trout. And you're constantly, like, moving, trying to get your clients fish, you know. And then when you get a spot, like, years will tell you too, like, you know, that, you know, certain areas will fish certain times, you know, in the month, Dara.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big advantage to being with a guide as well when he's going to be putting you over fish, you know.
Actually, Jackie, it was the thing that I meant to. I had penned down to ask you. like here, Carver, it was a much bigger lake, but
Yes.
something like Arrow, which isn't as big, but would there be spots in Arrow where the mayfly would rise first, traditionally? And
Tradition, yes.
then,
Yeah, Tom, there would be, traditionally, yes.
So like you boating on that, you're naturally going to know that.
Yeah, basically, like I be time and stuff. You've been with me a few times, Tom, and I basically start timing things because you get to know it, like, here switches on at 2:00, there switches on at 4:00, and so on. Like, it's been like the spent this year. Like, the spent fishing was just absolutely fantastic this year on Arrow. We had a couple of cold days, but the spent fishing was just absolutely the best I've seen, to be honest, in years on Arrow. Like we had some cracking fish and we lost some big fish, like Hugh and McGregor there from Scotland. I think you've seen the photograph there, 7 pounds 10.
Cracking fish, Jackie. Saw that.
Absolutely.
Absolute belter. Yeah.
And we had 4 in the boat already that before we hooked him. And that we actually took us an hour and a half to actually land that fish. You wouldn't believe it. It was such a fight. And we weighed him and we put him back carefully and he swam away for some other angler, hopefully to enjoy.
It was the boat behind you. We were waiting to get in.
Oh, the boat behind.
I was following catch 22. Catch 22.
I was actually having tea waiting for him to play him. So,
and Jackie, tell us, did it come on like at the start? Obviously, mayfly. You're looking forward to an exciting time. Did it just suddenly? Was it at the start? You kind of saw it happen, and you kind of went, "Oh, this is going to be a good season," or did it kind of slowly develop into something good?
It actually came on very early this year, Dara. It started like in the first 2-3 days. And it just started getting better and better and better. And then probably a little bit of boat pressure came onto the lake then, and it kind of slowed down slightly. And then it just full swing then when the spent and the greens were actually coming, together. It was just superb. It really was. Now, the fish this year, Dara, we had a lot more fish this year than we had previous years, but they weren't as big, Dara. Like 1.5 pound, 2 pound weight. We were averaging 5 trout a day, roughly, It
was good regular action, like.
But in the evening time, we were averaging the same 5 to 6 trout. So the day was pretty good, if you know what I mean, like overall. But as I say, the spent fishing was just unreal. It really was this year,
and Jackie,
I have to say.
Hatches a fly. How was it overall? Was it?
Hatches of fly was huge this year. There was some of the biggest hatches I've ever seen in my life on Arrow this year.
Yeah.
To be with you, Tom, And there was a few days there and they were just everywhere. Everywhere you looked, there was fly. Hundreds and hundreds of fly. But usually when the hatch was that big, Tom, the fish weren't on them. They switched off for some reason. When there was less fly, the fish were more active, Tom, for some reason. Which is strange. Like usually, if there was a big, massive hatch, you'd bet your life on it that they were going to devour everything in front of them. But
yeah,
didn't.
That's interesting.
Previous years, did you get an inkling that there was the hatch getting better and better, over previous years, or was this suddenly 2023 kind of like? Well, where did that come from?
It was suddenly just this year. Like even talking to some of the lads that would have fished Arrow most of their life had said the same thing, that the hatches were just unbelievable. Like what I found this year as well, Dara, where we got a lot of fish last year, we didn't get them this year.
Right.
You got the odd one. You didn't get the sport we had the previous year. So there was a lot of searching, to find the fish at times. I think the fish were actually doing a lot of moving when they were on the spent knot as well. They were actually traveling, when they were actually feeding, and they weren't staying in the same spots, that you think you were going to get a fish in, Like one of the evenings there, we hooked a fish well into the double figures on the spent, well into the double figures, We could see him coming up like a train coming up the shore, just absolutely devouring everything, and we just got the fly in front of him. We actually didn't really see him take, and he just absolutely took the rod, everything out of the angler's hand, took off, ran, crossed the lake, real screaming, the whole lot, gave one jump, and he was gone, And we went back I brought new clients then the next day back to the same spot, and that's where we got the 7 pound 10.
it's great for a lake like Arrow. We suffered really badly, 15, 20 years ago. Jackie, probably, really it had, I won't say it had died, but it had gotten very, very ill, shall we say, and it wasn't producing fish. It wasn't, it was a tough lake. And to see it come back to the fishery that it is now, I think it's just fantastic. It's fantastic for trout anglers in Ireland. It's just,
it is.
Yeah.
Really, truly is. But a lot of work has went in with the Lough Arrow club up there as well, Tom. They've done a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work.
And you have to hand it to I know we all slate the fishery board, but you have to hand it to them. They do take care of the lake up there, and they do a lot of work around it.
Yeah, there's a lot. Credit where credit is due, Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to say that.
Jackie, take us maybe through the transformation in terms of I hadn't realised how poorly it was, as Tom mentioned there. Maybe just take us through the state of the kind of the fall and then the rise again.
I think a lot of it to do was the actual fish that when they were spawning, Dara, they were actually leaving the lake and staying on the rivers. There was a lot of data in it at the time. And when the fishery board did have a look at it, Dara, they found that whatever fish went up them rivers to spawn never really came back down onto Arrow again. Obviously, the feeding maybe was a bit better or whatever. And they just started moving some of the fish back onto the lake again. And it definitely helps, Catch and release too is a big help for Arrow as well. There's a lot more anglers practicing that on Lough Arrow as well, so there is.
Was it pollution or?
There was water quality is a problem in every lake, Dara, at the moment. It really is. I've been boating on Melvin there recently, and it was an absolute disgrace to see the water quality. It was like pea soup, Dara. It was so bad. And the scary thing here, Dara, is you're talking about water quality, and you're looking at there's a Ballyshannon pump houses pumping the same water into houses in Bundoran, Ballyshannon, Kenlock, and people are drinking this. And you've seen it in the local news, the amount of dogs that actually died there in Garris.
6 dogs.
Stagnant water.
We were at the Connacht Cup there this weekend. Myself and Jackie and myself were up at it, and the tally, and it's horrible to say that, but the number would have better. Tally sounds rotten, but 6 dogs had actually died from poisoning. Yeah. I actually had an American over. He's a full-time guide in the States, and he was actually shocked at the quality of the water. He was actually shocked. So he couldn't believe how bad the quality of the water was. And that's a complete stranger coming to the country from the States looking at this,
And it's and you have the European Water Framework Directive and all these kind of so-called regulations supposed to be enforced, but obviously a lot more needs to be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you will get blooms of algae on lakes, but this was definitely just over. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Like we're talking there about the blooms. At one stage, Arrow was suffered badly from that, didn't it?
Absolutely, and it still does now and then, Tom. But to be honest, Tom, I haven't seen Arrow as bad as Melvin.
Right. Yeah.
I've never seen it as bad as it was the last day, Tom. You could actually smell it, Tom. It was that bad. You could actually smell it. It was so bad, and that's the scary part. That's the scary part. And when the winds came, it broke it all up. It broke all that algae up. But as I say, these people are drinking this water. What effect is it going to have down the road? I know we're jumping from Arrow to Melvin, but it has to be said too about Melvin with the quality of water. It's just shocking.
Was 2023 an outlier, or I know, Tom, you were saying, kind of swings and roundabouts in terms of kind of season to season, but are you hoping, Jackie, that, the promise of what 2023 brought for Arrow will hail for good future years to come, or you just don't know? Or
it's just hard to know, Dara. Arrow has been fishing well for the last few seasons, really well, especially for myself. I've had some serious great fish off it, guiding. And as I say, the boat is totally catch and release. We don't kill anything. We photograph it, and we put it back straight away, Dara. And a lot of people say to me, why don't you knock one on the head? A lot of people that comes to me don't want to kill fish, Dara. they want a photograph and they're happy with that, and I'm absolutely delighted with that myself, Darren. It's not, I'm just trying to promote catch and release here. I just think that, it's great to see some other angler that's going to hopefully catch that fish and enjoy the same enjoyment that other person had, Darren, which is a big thing, you have to say that, and I suppose Melvin has to go the same way eventually too, totally catch and release. It has no choice.
So do you think the secret's out now on Arrow? The cat's been let out of the bag?
I think so. Free tea and coffee for next year again, I think, Dara.
Well, first it was Sheelin, now it's Arrow. Do you think Arrow, Tom, is one of those that seems to be kind of now coming more to the fore now? But it's kind of that, isn't it? Chicken and egg. It gets a name, more people fish it, more fish are caught, more people come. It's that kind of.
Yeah. It's good for the area too. It really is. Of
course it is, Jack. It's fantastic. Yeah, and look, long may it continue. God,
Absolutely.
You really need that. But and it's not just mayfly on it either.
No. The fishing throughout the season.
Fish throughout the season. I don't get to. My biggest problem is I never get to fish outside Carb and Mask.
Yeah.
On mayfly time, so I'll never get to fish any of these lakes mayfly time. But I have got to fish. I've been lucky enough to fish with Jackie a couple of times. I can nip up in, I had more free time other times of the year, and I've had cracking fishing with Jackie in September.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to September again. I'd love to try the Green Peter, because we don't have Green Peter on Cara, but it's a long way to travel. I'm 2 hours from Arrow, and it's a long way to travel for what I'm told is 30 minutes of fishing.
That's all it is, Tom.
Yeah, you were saying that because I've been chatting to Jackie about this before, and he goes, "Yeah, you'll be coming, but you get 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes."
Yeah, and then it's all over. And then in that set of 30 minutes, they could absolutely switch across the buzzer, in between. So you have the two rods set up, you have to have your Green Peter rod and your dry buzzer rod set up at times,
Talk us through that, Jackie. When would you be targeting with the Green Peter? When does that kick in?
Well, traditionally it has always kind of been in around the first kind of week of July, but This year it seems to have came a little bit early. There is a few people catching on Green Peter at the moment, but traditionally has always been kind of the first week of July when you really get stuck into the Green Peter fishing on Arrow at night. And some nights it's just superb. It's just great to see. You wouldn't believe it, Dara. It's like the Canis fishing. You see it on the Corrib, some videos and that. You actually see the amount of fish that's up feeding on them. It's just unbelievable. So it is.
And literally 20 minutes, it could just turn on.
Absolutely. It's gone, Dara. Gone. Absolutely gone. Overdone with. And I mean, if they stay up, they might be on Green Peter, they could be on buzzer, So it's brilliant fishing, when it is on. It is absolutely. But it's weather related, the same as anything else. If you have a very hot summer, it can put the fish down deep and they won't come up.
Yeah.
That happened last season on it. The fishing was just diabolical for the Peter because of the hot weather.
Again this year, Jackie.
And the way things is going, it can happen again.
Yes.
It can happen again. And it's, as you say, Tom, it's a long way to drive just for 15, 20 minutes, Yeah.
I might just pass on that one. But we're going up, and myself and Jackie are doing a thing in September, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We're doing a bit of filming, so I'm really looking forward to that, because I've been up, as I said, the last couple of times in September, and really had cracking fishing up there.
Absolutely brilliant fishing. Brilliant.
It's been nice.
Yeah. So in terms of what if people want to kind of are interested, maybe what is the best time of year? People are thinking of trying out Lough Arrow, for a first time, between now and the end of the season. When would you be recommending, Jackie?
Well, I was on Arrow last Saturday, Dara, and I had I had a lady from Spain, and I had her boyfriend, he's from Sweden, and first timers fishing. And we should have had 5-6 trout in the boat, so we should have had Dara, and I mean, they're only learning Dara, the cast, and I mean, they were uptaking actually mayfly. There was still the odd mayfly coming, and I had them set up on dry mayflies, and they had their chances to catch them, So, I mean, arrow fish as well, throughout August, even, Dara, on dry sedges and that sort of stuff too, and olives, So, like, I mean, a lot of people I suppose last Saturday I seen 2 boats for the whole day on Arrow. Okay. That was it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Jackie, because you just kind of went into it there. I mean, what is the summer fishing like? You wouldn't have, let's say, like on Mask or Carp, you wouldn't have Daphne fishing on it, would you?
There is in parts, Tom, but you have to know where to go, Tom, on Arrow for Daphne. That's, you know, I think the day we were out, or your Mike and yourself was out beside us that day, we hit Daphne. I remember way out in the middle.
That's right. Yeah, actually, I do remember that.
Yeah, and it was quite lively then, Tom. You know, but some of the Daphne fish on Arrow, like, are, you know, pound and a half, like, you know, like
kind of the same like as on Corrib.
Kind of same, yeah.
Daphne fish on Corib are bigger as compared to the Daphne fish on that we know both from fishing on Mask.
Yeah. But I find the Arrow ones, the Daphne fish on Arrow, it's not like Mask. They're harder caught. I mean, you could rise 30 fish maybe to get one. You found it that day as well. They were coming, tumbling on the fly. They were coming with, as they say, head and tail with their mouth closed. You know.
Yeah. It was mildly frustrating. I think I turned in the boat at one stage and said, that was frustrating that I missed that one again.
Yeah, you know.
How was that?
Bad angling.
Yes. I must improve on the next fish, I said.
Darn that. There's always another one.
Oh, yes, darn. That was the word I used. Darn.
Yeah.
So come here, Jackie. I tell you, it's definitely one now. I think Arrow's on people's radar now.
It is indeed.
And maybe experience it, maybe not just around mayfly time, to kind of get a better experience all around on it, and maybe in a quieter time. But Jackie, if you guide on it, so if people are interested in finding out a bit more, how can they get in contact?
My website is jackiemahonfliesandguiding.com, and you can pin me in an email there, no bother.
It's another one I have to add to the list now, Tom.
I think Tom's already on the list for September for 2 days.
This is back to our small bucket list. Now, that's it.
You know,
it's growing all the time. Jackie, tight lines for the coming season, and thanks a million for joining us.
Having me. Thanks, Tom.
Our thanks to Jackie Mahon for joining us on the show. Don't forget to rate, review, and follow the Ireland on the Fly podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Plus, you can keep up to date on IrelandOnTheFly.com, as well as on Instagram, and myself and Tom will be back with another episode about people and places of fly fishing in Ireland.